Good evening, everyone. My name is Shinei. For those of you who don't know me, you're welcome to turn towards me if you'd like. I'm a new Dharma teacher here. I lived at a monastery near here for almost a decade, and then my husband and I, who's also the other assistant teacher here, we walked from Mexico to Panama last year on a pilgrimage. And then we were offered to come here to help with this Sangha. So this is only my, I think, second, maybe third Dharma talk here. The word Dharma means truth. And there's actually three meanings of the word Dharma that I know of. Maybe there's more. One is the Dharma, which is the teaching and the practices that help us to let go, to relax, to be free from fear, to really live awake in our moment-to-moment lives. And so meditation practice is a Dharma, and the Buddhist teachings are Dharmas. And a Dharma talk is that use of Dharma. Dharma also means the truth. So this is Dharma. This is the truth of now. This is the living Dharma, you might say. And sometimes it's referred to kind of in a conceptual way, like the truth, like it's somewhere, I don't know it. But actually it's referring to this. This is the truth, right? There's my first teacher who I lived with before I moved to the monastery. He would always say that there's only one thing that can't be proven wrong. This is it. Everything else we can debate about. What's the meaning of the Dharma? What's the right practice? What's right? What's wrong? What's good? What's bad? But this cannot be disputed. And Dharma practice is about looking deeply into this. What is this? What is this? And what is suffering? You know, that's a really great, those two, and also who am I? These are three really great koans. What is this? And to look deeply, is there something behind this? Where does this come from? And not to answer it with a thought, but to feel into it. This sound of voice, what is that? Who am I? So this, the truth of I, this is kind of like the crux of our suffering. What is this constant referral to I that we are just circulating with our thoughts and our body contractions? This sense of I, this separate sense of I, the story of I, is where all of our fear circulates around and flows out of. So it's very much worth investigating. And then what is the suffering, right? That's investigating the texture of that fear. It could be a fear like somebody comes up to talk to me and I'm like, what is that? Or I'm walking down the street and I'm about to pass somebody and there's just this subtle nervousness. Or I'm going to give a talk and, let's talk in front of all these people, right? And there's this nervousness. What is that fear? What is the I that fear is coming out of? What is being protected? And does it need to be? And then, of course, the fruit of investigating suffering and investigating the I is, what is liberation? What is that release that can happen in the heart? Which just, and the satisfaction. Yesterday I was at a spiritual gathering, and this woman said that it's rare for human beings to have the experience that this is exactly right, that there is nowhere else that I need to be. There is no other way that I need to feel. It's like, and it's so rare. We're always seeking, right? I might dispute that though. Is it rare? Maybe we have moments all the time. So this is for you to investigate. The third meaning of the word Dharma is thing. So the 10,000 dharmas you often hear in Dharma teachings, that means everything. And that also kind of wraps them all together in a way, because everything, like this book, is shining the truth. It is the truth. And so, yeah, so those are the three meanings I know. That wasn't even in my talk to prepare. In Zen, we have this phrase, living words and dead words. So sometimes I prepare a talk and somehow those words aren't alive when I sit down. And, that's something that may happen for all of us, right? Even if we don't give formal talks, we prepare for an event or for a meeting with somebody or for our day, we plan it out. And then we actually meet the Dharma, the truth of life, and it wants something else from us. It doesn't want our pre-rehearsed plan. It doesn't want that. And to me, that's what Dharma practice does for us, is that we practice again and again, resting in things as they are, in life as it is, in me as I am, the sensations as they are, the breath, the feeling of fear, whatever is present. And we learn to trust that that's okay, that that's enough. So then why we don't need to overlay, we don't need to ensure that it's going to be okay, because it already is okay. And in that way we're so free, because we don't have to be anybody. We don't have to be the role that we thought we were. We don't have to be the job that we thought we were. We don't have to be even the human being that, we think we're a human being. Are we really a human being? When we're looking at, like when I'm playing with my dog, I'm actually more a dog than I am a human being. A lot of the Zen koans, so in the Rinzai tradition, and our lineage is a part of the Rinzai tradition and the Soto tradition. It's a blend. And in the Rinzai tradition of, and we talk more about this kind of stuff at the study group if you want to come on Wednesdays, but in the Rinzai tradition, there's emphasis on koan practice, which are little pointers that teachers in our lineage have left us. And they can be prompts, or they can be dialogues between like a teacher and a student. And then we study those and step into those and see what that reveals to us about our own life right now. So all of Zen practice is about our own life right now. It's not a philosophy. I mean, there is such thing as Zen philosophy, but it's not satisfying. It can help us. It can help us. It has its place, right? In a way, I'm giving Zen philosophy, right? But I'm trying to point. We say it's like the finger pointing to the moon. I'm trying to point beyond the philosophy too. It's about this life right now. So in the Zen koans, there's a lot of simple koans like become the oak tree in the garden. Make yourself a pillar. Sit like a mountain. So in our tradition, these are called the preliminary koans, and there's about 100 of them like that you go through. And then you go through the traditional koan collections, which are more like stories between masters and students. And so you do that one-on-one with your teacher in Sanzen. So Chosen Roshi offers that. And I don't know if it's going to continue, and that's my teacher from the monastery, and I don't know if that's going to continue in the next generation. There's one other of us who's doing it, one of her students named Fuho. He does that in Portland. So these koans are inviting us to become actually what we are and stop becoming what we think we should be or what we think we are. Which for me, it's so relieving. You know, when I hear a few sighs in the room, it's like, it's so relieving to just be what we are. You know, that's really Zen. Sometimes people ask me, what's Zen? And I'm like, Zen is everything. You know, there's a million ways you could answer that question. What is the true, so one koan, also the oak tree. Oh, here's one. What is the true Dharma? I think a student asked Chow Cho, he's a Chinese master, and he said 3 pounds of flax. Right? So he probably has this flax in front of him. The student comes, there it is. That's the Buddha Dharma. And it's so beautiful. It's being presented to us moment by moment. I'm going to read a poem here. I brought some books and I just thought, let's see if I can find it. Well, I don't know where that poem went, but I'll read another one. See, that's right, the living Dharma, right? That poem wasn't ready to be read. And just trusting that. So much of our stress is thinking that it had to be this way. It had to be a certain way. So we try to arrange it, manipulate it. So this book is called The First Free Women. And in the Buddha's time, there were women practitioners. That's a whole interesting part of our lineage. There's actually no women in our lineage, in our actual lineage, until you get to Chosen. She's the first transmitted lineage holder. It's my teacher in this generation, because Buddhism has been influenced by patriarchy, right? And so all women weren't even allowed to get ordained, and they still have in the Theravada tradition, which most closely follows the original teachings of the Buddha, they don't have all of the same powers that the men have. So they, they can't like teach alone. I don't know all the rules, but they don't have the same empowerment as the men, and there's a lot of discussion around that now. But in Zen, Zen's a lot more sort of radical in a sense. Although still no ordained women in our lineage until this last generation. So, but in the Buddha's time, there's one section of the Pali Canon, which is said to be the original collection of the Buddha's teachings. It's very large, which has these poems of his women students who touch this deep freedom of life as it is. And then they will write, it's traditional to write an awakening poem, and that tradition continues up till present day. So you can think that if you have a moment, sorry, I'm such a soft talker sometimes. If you have a moment of freedom, if you touch that, you might just listen if there's a poem. There might be, or one sentence or one word that wants to be shared about that, that liberation. So this is Dhammadina, and these are modern day interpretations of those poems, which were written in a very old style of language. And Dhammadina means she who has given herself to the Dharma. I didn't plan that, I just flipped to this. Isn't that great? She who has given herself to the Dharma. So that in itself is just a beautiful contemplation. What does it mean to give yourself to truth? For so long, I thought only of the river's end. You relate to that? In your day-to-day life, the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. I thought only of the river's end. Then one morning, I set my paddle down to watch the sunrise over the eastern hills, only to find myself floating somehow gently upstream. I promise it was not what I expected. So of course this poem is talking about enlightenment, right? This liberation that we imagine one day will happen. And as practitioners, sometimes we can get into striving for some insight, even just in one period of Zazen. We find ourselves striving for some certain state of mind that's not this. No, it can't be this. It's not this. It's definitely not this. It's that. It's that. And here we are. We're dreaming about this end. Getting things done, because there's some belief in there that at some point I'll be able to relax when this is all done, when it's clean, when it's accomplished, when people see me well, whatever it is, when I've got the perfect body, when I've got the perfect clothes. Then, but then she just stops. She just sets the paddle down. And that's the invitation of practice. And she just enjoys the sunrise. You just enjoy the sound of the computer. It's like, can you imagine? Even the sound of the computer can be enjoyable. And once we learn to enter the present moment, it's so satisfying just to be with what is. I remember when I discovered that even painful things could be satisfying, and I had a headache, like a really bad headache, sometimes I get. And I realized that if I just entered completely the headache, that something in it was satisfying. And I told that to Chosen, it was just so perplexing. Like, how could a headache be satisfying? And she said, yeah, because it's something innately pleasurable with being with what is, with releasing that resistance to what is. So any Dharma, anything, we say in our four Bodhisattva vows, Dharmas are boundless. I vow to enter them. I vow to enter the sound of the car. I vow to enter the feeling of my heart. I vow to enter the touch of the clothing on my skin. I vow to enter the pain in my shoulder. And the kind of miraculous thing is that actually once we learn to enter what we were pushing away, it's not so bad. And actually sometimes it even dissolves. Because what was creating the pain was the resistance. What time does this talk get over?
Yeah, we got 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Okay. Meanwhile, I haven't said anything I wrote. One teaching that maybe a lot of you here have heard is a teaching of Chosen's that she got from two of her Dharma brothers who were ordained before her. And one day they came to visit her at work. She was a doctor and she was really busy with her patients and they kept them waiting and she felt really bad. You know, they're her like seniors and she was supposed to meet them. And I don't know what they were doing there. Maybe she was showing them around her work or something. And she said, "I'm so sorry, I was late." And they said, "Oh, no problem. It just gave us more time to practice." So Chosen always likes to say that once you start Dharma practice, once you start this practice of entering what is, whatever it is, whether you're in a waiting room at the hospital or in a zendo or in your kitchen, or walking, then you don't ever wait anymore. And it also speaks to liberation. You could say liberation is the falling away of seeking, which is waiting for the next thing, seeking that next. But then what we can do is say, oh no, seeking, I shouldn't seek. So we start seeking, not seeking. You're familiar with that? We just tie ourselves up in these knots. And so that's why we do session, that's why we do zazen, and especially that's why we do session. So we're about to start session tomorrow. Session means to gather the heart mind, literally that word, session in Japanese. And it's gathering the heart mind into now. And we do that because this tendency to tie ourselves into knots is so pervasive and so practiced, not just by us, but by all of our ancestors. We have this lineage of grasping, of seeking, which has helped our species evolve. It has, our thinking mind, our doing mind, our planning mind is a beautiful, but it's also the source of our suffering. And it's rooted in this sense of separation. So we do sesshin, which is like a deep dive into zazen. So we sit for 8 hours a day. We're silent for the whole week, 5 full days usually, and at night and a morning. Traditionally, it's actually 7 full days, but we've modified it in America to make it fit with the work schedule, and so people can have a little weekend. We don't want to completely give up, Anyways, but usually, traditionally, it was done in monasteries by people who didn't have outside lives. The beautiful thing about Zen in America is that we're weaving lay life with monastic life. And so we're now this year offering session every other month here. And you can come from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. every day. You go home and sleep and you come back. And you can also join for just 1 full day and the orientation the first day. That's the minimum to sign up for session. However, we're now opening morning and evening for anyone. So any of you guys can come this week, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. or 6:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. And you don't have to come for the whole time either. You can come and go at Kinhin's. There'll be a Dharma talk every night. And we're going to work on untangling this identification with I and this sense that I need to get somewhere else. And learning to relax into what we already are, which is already free, which is already complete. And then from that place, we can love. Byron Katie has this beautiful phrase, loving what is, which is, I think, the same as being with what is. Right? When we're not trying to get something from this interaction or from this life, we can love it. And so this session, we're actually focusing very specifically on the heart, relaxing the heart, opening the heart. It's often said that love is the beginning of practice. If we don't have kindness, we actually can't concentrate the mind. So if you find that you're having a hard time concentrating the mind, I would recommend working on relaxing the heart, loving whatever parts of yourself that you have rejected. Whatever thoughts you have that this is wrong, I'm wrong, look at that and open the heart to that. And then as you do that, that will prepare the ground to be able to go deeper into presence. And then as we go deeper into presence, we free ourselves and we can love even more. So it's like this cycle. These are the three parts of the path: sila, samadhi, and prajna. Ethics or love. Samadhi is presence or concentration. And prajna is wisdom. This liberation is knowing actually what's true, who we are, who we aren't. And then from that, love and concentration naturally emerge. Love and presence naturally emerge. So let's do it. Or let's not do it. Thank you.